It was emotionally devastating. You know, when you pour everything you have into a project only for it to then fail, there's a lot of things that you have to consider. Number one, your reputation is shot to shit. Number two, nobody's going to take you seriously, and nobody did. And number three, it's how do you move forward from this, or can you move forward?
That was heart-wrenching. That was really heart-wrenching. We actually filmed the entire film from beginning to end. Some footage got lost. We had to do several reshoots.
So we shot that film in 2014 in Louisville, Kentucky. From the very beginning, we were plagued by production issues. Some of our crew couldn't get their stuff together. Some of our crew couldn't focus. I'm not sure what their issue was, but they could not, for whatever reason, focus on the project. And ultimately, once it was done, we decided that you couldn't salvage it, you couldn't do anything with it. So then from there, we decided it would be best to reshoot the film.
Our goal was to make an entire film, and that's one of the hardest things to do in a movie, is beginning to end and get all those aspects all in one. And when you bust your ass to do that, and you get a beginning, a middle, and an end, and then it doesn't come to fruition, it sucks really bad. So it sucked. It hurts to see somebody like that go through something like that. No matter how different your views are, anybody that's creative, when they're willing to give up, that sucks really bad. And I hate seeing something like that. So with Tori, I talked to him and I said, listen, man, so you're not done with this.
We had been a part of this for so long, for so many years, through all the rewrites and this and that when we lost it, it was devastating for all of us. But it was the best thing that could have happened, because the film that you see now is so much better than what that film would have ever been. So while it was disheartening when it happened for a reason. And you now have this amazing one instead.
Ultimately, I think, in retrospect, the first film felt more like a sequel to something that we hadn't seen, and it just felt incomplete. We had went a direction that I think worked, but it just felt like it left something to be desired. So when we began the rewriting process, it was, what direction can we go? What can we do to make this different? And ultimately, we decided that we wanted to do a love letter to films past and Halloween, and that's really how the Wicked one came about, the new version.
It actually started out as a completely different story that was more almost supernatural, and then it morphed 12 scripts later into what it is, and little by little I kept getting more ideas into it, until he just approached me and was like, hey, take a stab at writing it. I'm like, all right, cool. I wrote what I thought would be kind of cool, and he had ideas for the action and the character of the Wicked one. And so I kind of just wrote that up, and we just collaborated, and that's how it came about.
The first person cast on the film was Katie Stewart. I'd known Katie for many, many years. And we had worked on one project together. I saw Katie's demo reel, I saw Katie in some other stuff, and I was like, wow, she would really be cool to play this Scream Queen character, this final girl. So we had talks and negotiations, and Katie eventually came on board. It was through Katie that Dale Miller came on board for that role. I had never worked with Dale, I had never known Dale, I had heard his name mentioned through other filmmakers, but through Katie, Dale became involved in this project.
behind me. Just chilling. Keep me company.
Cheyenne, of course, was involved through me, knowing him, wanting him to be able to have a bigger role, and certain people in the film I'd worked with before. Studio 605 came into the picture through Jack Norman. Jack had been the Wicked One originally on the first film, and he suggested Studio 605 be involved. He brought, before that was even a thing, we were looking at other people, and he had brought Roman up to shoot. We were doing some videos. He brought Roman up. I met Roman. Then we had initial conversations, and it was decided that Studio 605 would come on as co-producers and the production company behind the project. Indie film, it's a love-hate thing. It forces you to be more creative because you're limited. You've got limited resources. At the same time, it's very frustrating because you want to do more than you can. You want to do more than, budget allows. There's constraints on your budget. There's constraints. So with this film, we had so much we wanted to do. Like when it started, we were building a corridor. We had a huge location. We were building the actual cell block of the asylum. 2 weeks into that, we realized, okay, we don't have the finances to do this. We're going to have to find something else. So it's stuff like that. It's changing. It's being able to call an audible when you're in the midst of doing something and saying, okay, well, this is going to take 75% of our budget. What can we do to make this work for this type of film? So it's a two-edged sword. It forces you to be more creative. At the same time, it's very frustrating.
Educational. Again, I'm kind of the newer guy on this one, so it was more of just me picking up how things were done, aspects of like when they'd say this or that, that's when you know to shut the hell up or you're gonna get yelled at. But no, it was awesome though, because I got to see so many things that I never knew happen behind the camera. It was really awesome just to watch all that develop, because what you see on screen is absolutely not what happens on set. But then afterwards, when you see it on screen, you're like, I know what actually happened there.
Well, I mean, independent films are really all I've ever done. I mean, I've done a couple big budget, but that was just an extra, so no comparison. I mean, indie film, you're there from start to finish. You wear more than one hat. You take on all these different jobs. But at the end of the day, I feel like you're closer to everyone for it because you work so closely from beginning to end. You help each other with your wardrobe. You help each other with your makeup. You help each other with, oh, I think, this would be good. Or, if you said it this way. It's just very much a family atmosphere while trying to create something great.
Well, that's an interesting story. I first got cast as Mr. Miller. I think that might have been by default because he didn't really find anybody else, and he was like, I need a Mr. Miller. So I think that's how it happened. But anyway, so I'm on set. We're talking about the music because I was legitimately wanting to put my bid in to do the score, and he's like, I need this 50 song, and he was like, him and Roman were talking about getting something stock. I was like, I can do a 50 song. First of all, I've never written a 50 song in my life, okay? In fact, when I wrote the song, I went online and looked at standard progressions for that time error, and then for the lyrics, I went and looked at like the verbiage used back then just to write the lyrics. Luckily, I had a friend from high school. She came in, she sung it, and that's how you got the first song.
Honestly, I would say probably, as far as locations, there were a lot of different ones. We shot in a little hole in the wall restaurant type place that had really good breakfast, by the way. I can't remember the name of the place. We also shot in a bar where we had like the dance scene and the club scene with the Wicked One party. That was fun. But I think that my favorite location was actually out of the farmhouse. There were horses we got to play with. Being out there, so there was a few times we went four-wheeling. I think it was four-wheeling on the little, four-wheeler. So I guess it would be four-wheeling during downtime. So that was fun. But just being out there on the farm, I think was probably the best. There were a lot of bugs. Using porta potties sometimes wasn't always that fun. But it was fun. That was some of the different locations that I can think of. And a car, of course, we had scenes in the cars. The old Colin Miller house. That was a wicked location. That house was decrepit and creepy. That was especially the night scene that we shot out there. That was probably one of the creepiest nights I've been anywhere. So there's a lot of great spots.
The thing I think that I take away personally, but I think a lot of other people do, is every movie you work on, you hit obstacles and you get around them, or you get over them, or you get under them, but you find a way not to just sit in front of it. So with making any movie, you learn a lot so that on the next movie you don't do that again. In the Wicked One, it taught us a lot. Like we'd made movies before, but Wicked One was the first movie we made at that magnitude. It was the first movie we did that had stunts involved, where people were actually hanging upside down or being thrown into walls, with some blood gags, like in the farmhouse with the neck slit. So, there was a lot of things that we had not done yet as a production company. So it was a matter of learning how to do that and doing it, and, keeping that experience and just learning from it to move forward. So you learn a lot with every movie, definitely, and it helps you grow.
When we initially started production, of course, scheduling was really difficult because you have limited time. Everybody works, so we were having to shoot primarily on the weekends. That was a big thing because a lot of it takes place at night. So when you're filming, we would start filming Friday night, film till 4 and 5 in the morning, get a few hours of sleep, and then we'd have to be back on set at 11. So that was a huge thing that sucked the life out of everybody. Every film has obstacles that you have to face. Every film has issues that are going to come that you're going to have to deal with. This film, for me, I think the biggest issue is it became I have to do this. I don't necessarily want to do it, but if I don't finish what I started, I'll never be able to do another thing. So that's really what it became for me, which was huge because a lot of times I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be doing this film. I wanted to be done and on to whatever was next. And then I was having to do this. So I think it came across that way. I wasn't the most pleasant person to be on set with. I struggled a lot to do this film. But, I had people rallying behind me. Come on, let's do this.
When you start a project, it is stressful as hell, and it gets better and it gets easier as you go, and that's with any project. And it was the same thing with the Wicked One, and Tori had been trying to make this movie already for, I think, the previous at least 3 or 4 years, and it just never somehow worked out. And you know, you're gonna have your doubts as a director going into a project that the universe doesn't want you to make, or it feels like that at least. So I say in the first 2 weeks, you know, Tori was super excited that we were doing it, but at the same time, he mentally had already been over this movie. He wanted this movie to get done and made just because of all the times it failed beforehand. So yeah, I totally think that.
Tori had a really hard time during production because Tori is the type of person that he's fixated on a vision. That's how he creates. He's a lot like most artists. We see something in our head and we focus on it. We get tunnel vision on it. That's what we want. That's what we have to have. It's not that smooth on set a lot of times. Problems happen. And again, Tori is a fixated person that he knows what he wants. And when that doesn't work out, he would get stressed, and you know, he would come to me, he pulled me aside. I think there's even footage on the behind the scenes footage. You'll notice a lot of times you'll see me and Tori off to the side and him just like saying something to me, and it's just us. That's usually the times that he was like, I'm stressing the hell out right now, or this is happening, or this didn't go right. And it's usually me going, it's cool, man, it's fine, you know, we'll work around it. We can do this, we can do that. I think Tori allows his emotions to control him a little too much on set, but without that, you can't make a great film. You just can't. Without those emotions, it's impossible. If you shut off that part of your personality and that part of your creativity, then you're just making donuts. It's the same cut every single time. So without that passion, you know, I don't feel like you can really make a great film or something unique.
It was great. I mean, it really was. We had a great time. There were days that it was hard. There were long days, long night shoots. There were stunts I had to do. There was fighting I had to do. It was an emotional roller coaster in a lot of ways. My character went from laughing and having fun to crying to fighting to the whole thing was an emotional roller coaster. But it was fun and it was challenging. Being on set itself, there was never a dull moment between anybody. I mean, we all banded together and we became family on set. So it was by far, out of everything I've done, one of the best experiences that I've had overall. So.
The night of the premiere was emotional. You hope that people will show up to see your film, but at the end of the day, you never really know. When we got there, at 7 o'clock, we walked down to do the red carpet, and nobody was there. 15 minutes later, the place you couldn't move around in. So that was really cool. I began to panic. I was like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? There's this many people here. And then when I finally got a moment to take it in, it was a mixture of emotions. I had to step away. I had to go back and stand behind the curtain and like, oh my God, there's more people here than you expected. And Cheyenne came back and hugged me, and he said something. He was like, this is all because of you. And that meant a lot, but it was all because of the entire cast and crew and all the work put into it. And it was really cool to see that many people react to something that you've worked on for that long.
But when somebody puts their faith in you to help them make something, and then you make it, and they're proud of it, and you can kind of go on from that and say, we did this, that will resonate with me for the rest of my life. You know, I could stop making movies today. I could go on to make 5, 10, 15 more movies, whatever. But this will always be the most special to me because it was my entryway into the business. It's a family, and as much as you fight, bitch, bicker, complain at each other, and butt heads, it's always going to be a family no matter what. And I can always rely on Tori, and I hope he knows he can always rely on me, that we'll be supportive of each other.
This film, I will always have a love and hate relationship with. I think for what it is, when you look at it in its entirety, budget, it was a true passion project for me. It was about, I love a genre and a type of film so much that I wanted to do that. And I got to.